It's that time of week once more for Muji and Dan to give you the comic store. It's time to open up those bags and boards, fans. Welcome to Get Your Pulls.
Hi, let's get your pulls. It's number 82. It's Muji.
It's Dan.
And it's Todd.
2 out of 3, not bad.
Yeah.
Or 1 out of 40.
Yeah, because like
if you didn't listen to the last episode.
that 80 got dropped.
Well, it's probably going to return, but
So you might be able to rekindle it or something.
It'll be the lost episode. Like,
Cool.
everything that's on that hard drive, I've got to salvage at some point because it's got, like, my child's baby pictures and stuff on it. So, I'll have to pay somebody to just harvest everything off
And
of it.
more importantly, it's got 1 episode of Get Your Pulls.
That's right.
And so,
It's a lost gem.
Something that me and Todd care about. There's one episode.
so the lost episode 80 will return at some point. But
Yeah.
It was the official
Might
return.
be next week, might be the week after that. It might be when the tax money comes in, depending on how you have to get it back. But, yeah, we got, not much news this week, but shit tons of comics, so that's good. See, in Todd's hands, I get to find out about Superior Spider-Man, which I
do a little
decided-
something different this
I
week.
decided at a certain point I didn't want to stop buying it. It's still going to happen.
I had to do some catch-up, so back to the long box.
Nice.
Have to become something different this week.
But, the only real big comic news this week was crazy Greg Rucka coming back to Marvel. He's going to write a Young Cyclops book, so that's cool. Of course, based off current Young Cyclops from All New X-Men. So that's exciting news and very surprising. They really played it off on the announcement. I'm calling bullshit on all announcements about this because they really played it off from Marvel's end and from Rucka's end, where they're like, people really misinterpreted when I left Marvel. Like, I never had a problem, blah, blah. It's like, no, there's some quote, word for word stuff where it's like, they told me they would never cancel The Punisher. This is why I hate working for the big two. It's like, this is why I'm just going out on my own. Like, there's a...
yeah, he talks quite a bit of massive shit about Marvel and vice versa, at the time. Like, it was just it was a pretty ugly split. But, anything that makes money is going to mend fences in the business world, and this certainly
We
is
especially
going to
know from wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Is that if there's money to be made, then a bridge cannot be fully burned. You can burn it down to the last
fence mending.
Yeah, dude, you can burn a bridge all the way down to the last little bitty small pieces of wood where if you breathe on it, the bridge would fall in the river. But as long as enough of that's there, they'll build the motherfucker back up completely if they think they can make $1. Not even a bunch of money. If they can make $1, then the bridge all of a sudden becomes wide open again. So
That should do that too, but I mean, why Cyclops getting his own book rather than one of the other characters like Jean Grey?
I don't know. It's one of those weird things where they had an idea. They wanted to do a Young Cyclops book, and I think what they said was that Bendis immediately was like, Greg Rucka would be the perfect one to write this. Call him, and it was free, which also raises a weird question about because Rucka was originally announced he was supposed to be part of that 5 years later in DC, and said he had to drop out. His schedule didn't have anything to do with it. Said it wasn't creative issues, but then all of a sudden he's going to do this Marvel book. Who knows? Like, he dropped out of the DC project he had been down for, and now he's doing a Marvel project out of nowhere. It really sounds like it's really hard for DC to get people to work with him.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of that's probably attributed to sort of an old school writer's mentality. Use the wrestling analogy again, but like, I don't want people to know, publicly if I have a disagreement with a promoter, unless they just do something really heinous and the world needs to know about it. But so if I was Greg Rucka, I probably wouldn't want to be going public and saying these things, especially after the Punisher thing happened too. So he's probably just like, I want to keep the option open to make the money there if I fall on my face independently. But if not, then, fuck him.
Yeah, which, I mean, all he did, he didn't really address, like, why I could do that, but he simply said, because it was really just like a big statement that he gave, and he just simply said, he's like, the reason that I'm able to do this project over other projects is simply the scheduling of it, which, I mean, could be true. Who knows how when you don't fucking know the ins and outs of like when you would have had to turn in work and be working for the DC stuff compared to this. And also, I mean, you figure, I mean, book isn't going to go forever. I'm sure there's probably a finite amount of time that he's said he's going to write the book, you would guess, So, who knows? But it's cool.
Marvel announced several new books coming. I don't know that we really covered them last week. I think maybe we covered a couple of them, but I know we didn't really talk about Warren Ellis going to Moon Knight, which is pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, that was months ago. We really went over like a list so much. I mean, I mean, now that the books are starting to roll out, like these are all the ones they announced all these all at once.
Yeah.
Like, whenever it happened, a while back when they said,
so that one's actually
it was
in
just a
print.
list.
Yeah,
It's in print. It's just in print 2 weeks. Yeah, it's one they announced, and everybody's like, oh, cool. But now it's starting to get a big buzz because it's out in 2 weeks. I thought it was out this past week for some reason because people had read it, but it's actually out 2 Wednesdays from now. But it's just a bunch of other writers that he knows. He sent prints to. Yeah, and so a bunch of them have read the first issue, and we're talking about how awesome it was, on social media and stuff. So now it's getting a big buzz. So yeah, that's another book that might get tried out. I'm at the point where I'll have to drop something to get something, but that is one. You got the right guys. You've got like Jason Aaron and Scott Snyder and people being like, this is fucking great, So you're just like, I gotta read it then.
Yeah, like I don't care about Moon Knight necessarily, but I really like Warren Ellis, so I definitely would.
The thing I found out
in some form.
in my short couple of years of reading comics is that the characters that you don't really care about end up having like the best books a lot of the time because with other characters like as much more badass as like Spider-Man is, he's got 50 solid years of like with
around.
1 billion books. When somebody like Moon Knight, you don't care that much about. It's like, oh, but there's not that much Moon Knight, so there's just a lot more. There's a lot more opportunity for creativity. I mean, when you look at the fact that like Hawkeye is such a great book, we'll talk about only one issue in, but She-Hulk a little bit later. Like this like you can tell a lot fresher stories with a lot of these characters.
Well, characters are pretty especially the more popular ones, are pretty well tied to the status quo.
Yeah.
And you got to give Marvel a little bit of credit here over the last couple of years with Superior Spider-Man. Now they're going back to the status quo,
right.
But I mean, despite what we might have thought about the book at any point, it was at least an attempt at something different. Yeah. If you read any interviews with Wolverine writer Paul Cornell, he has stated that they're going to try some status quo shifting with Wolverine here coming up. They've already eliminated his healing factor. Spoiler alert.
Right, yeah.
But now the big thing is that apparently, major spoiler alert, he's going to be leaving the Jean Grey school and becoming a villain. And they're committing to it.
So I wonder if that's like in his main new, like the Ryan Stegman book. I don't remember who's writing it, but he just got a new number 1.
I mean, I think
that's the Paul Cornell.
I think it's going to be a company-wide thing where he'll do that in all the books. Which,
yes.
Which also leads me to believe that could be the switch. The fact that Wolverine and the X-Men is relaunching, but now you know that it's not going to have Wolverine for long. That's almost makes it to where that could be the book that instead of giving it an attempt, may drop it to get that Moon Knight just because I don't know what they're going to do without.
No, I heard that over long term with Latour on Wolverine and the X-Men that he is actually going to be the villain in the book, so that's where he'll be coming back. But I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy radical shift to a character they've done. But with Wolverine being Wolverine, you can almost get away with it because, of course, he's a self-admitted killer.
I mean, there's a couple of guys. I mean, there's him. There's the Punisher. I mean, you could really even do it with Thor, because Thor is also another guy who murders people pretty regularly. Like, if you wanted to make him a bad guy,
you can throw him over the other side.
I mean, you could find the way where some of your other characters. I mean, with having characters like Captain America or somebody, you can always have one of the black and white guys who do whatever. Like if they decide, hey, this isn't whatever, then you can. There's a few guys like that you can turn heel at any moment, really.
We were talking about Superior coming
up. Doc Ock take over their brain.
And just interesting that Wolverine and Spider-Man, two controversial, popular characters for Marvel because, they put them in the Avengers, and now they've turned them bad, and so it's like...
Maybe that's where this is coming from, Superior Wolverines, like
also,
for Spidey.
Also, I would bring this up to you, too, where they've had this creative so much creative freedom with those characters, I'd also bring you to the point that maybe they're willing to try it because they don't own the movie rights to either one.
Oh, right.
So if it flops, then it's not going to affect them at the box office. So
they don't have to
maybe that's why they're willing to take the chance. You know, are they going to make Iron Man a bad guy in the comics? I don't think so. You know, I think they're willing to take the chance more on these guys, but I think that's a fair point of why they are willing to take those chances. They don't have $1 billion to protect.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, it's not like they don't get anything from those other movies, but they're not getting much. But yeah, that's pretty big comic news. Got some toy comic news, which is really exciting. Toy Fair, one of my favorite weekends of the year for news, happened. Bunch of awesome stuff. I mean, you can go on Toy Arc. That's probably my favorite website to get all the stuff because they actually always have people there and just take thousands of pictures of all the different lines and stuff. So it's really the best one to get all the detailed pics and news of what's out. And then over the next few weeks, you know, you'll get, you know, pre-orders up so you can kind of see what the prices are and stuff. Because a lot of this stuff is just like, oh shit, that's awesome. Like, I wonder how much blood I'm going to have to spill to find a way to get this Jabba the Hutt figure. It's probably going to cost me $50, damn it. But bunch of awesome stuff. Star Wars Black, which is probably the most detailed, like, action figures that are actually action figures out there, like outside of just the crazy, like, you know, $200 figs that come out. Because there are those, but the ones, the best looking figs that are on any shelves are the Star Wars Black.
They're real high quality just for, you know, standard produced toys that you can go anywhere and get.
But they showed a bunch of new ones of that. Those are awesome if you like Star Wars. And there's a bunch of new Game of Thrones figs, which is another thing that we love. But the big stuff was DC. DC Collectibles is going crazy. They're releasing shit tons of figs. Found out, great announcement. The first line of this isn't out till May, but they announced a Series 2 of the Greg Capullo sculpt Batman figures. Which
it's about time.
Are badass, yeah. Well, the Series 1, it comes out in May, that they'd announced before, is you got Nightwing, the Riddler, a Talon, and a Batman.
Sweet.
So that's really badass. And then maybe one more. And then Series 2 they announced.
Was there a Joker, or was that separately?
The Joker.
I've never seen a Joker.
I believe the Joker's separate.
Before.
They'd announced Batman, Nightwing, and a Talon for sure, and then they added a Riddler later. I don't know if there's a Joker. I guess we could look it up. But I mean, if there's not, there's going to be, because it looks like this is going to be a regular thing. Series 2 of the Capullos might even be more exciting. There's a Mr. Freeze. This is Mr. Freeze's sign. There's a Catwoman. There's a Batman in his big, awesome robot suit that he had to bust out and fight the owls in.
That was one of my favorite
That looks ridiculous. And a Red Hood from the Zero Year storyline.
Sweet.
Badass.
So these Capullo figs are off the charts. And then DC, DC, they don't really save. Like, they've announced just a ton of stuff over the past few months for their action figure line. But a couple of figures that people were really wanting. There's a Batgirl, which looks great, a Supergirl that's coming out, just from the regular DC Collectibles line, a Nightwing, just, you know, I guess the not Capullo, I guess just from the book, the Kyle Higgins book.
Yeah.
I think Jim Lee actually designs, like, a lot of these for the figures that aren't, you know, any sort of specialty things. Those are awesome, so that's good. And then probably their biggest news is a brand new line they're doing, which I'm just probably got to stay away from these just because I simply, it's
crap.
Unfortunately, we got a fig guy, we got a fig hookup. A lot of people got a weed man, we got a fig man.
Man, you got to know a guy to get these things.
Some people we know, maybe people in this room have a weed man too. We don't know. We're not going to disclose that. But we definitely have a fig man. And unfortunately, DC Collectibles aren't sold in like any major retail, so you can't get to hook up on those. So it's $20 a pop for these when I get those. Anything else you get for half price. You can get those Star Wars figs for $10.
Yeah.
These DC ones are too much. I probably got to stay away, but really exciting. 6-inch Batman the Animated Series figures.
I saw the Batman from
there. They're making them big. They look great. The first series has like
a lot of articulation on them.
They're articulate, which they've never done with those figures.
Because I remember the original. They were just like
these are
arms, legs,
fully articulate 6-inch figs. Which, you know, if you listen to the show, you know my fig theory. It's 6 inches or get the fuck out. Just about action figures.
My wife has that same policy, so
yeah. But, yeah, it's going to be great. They already showed, like, the first little line of them. They look good. And then they also announced, like, they're expanding to do like figures just based on different stories, which is something they've done, but they're doing like they just really have kind of redone the same ones over and over. Like there's like here's Hush figures, like, here's a Hush box set, and they're always like they're just always different. Stuff. But yeah, they're doing a Batman and Son one, so there's gonna be a Batman and a fucking Damien fig, which
sweet.
That rules. But the
DC
DC
about to do that movie too, like the animated.
Yeah, that's about to come out. So they're really doing a good job of keeping all that in line, where they push the things through toys and the action figures and stuff. So that was awesome. And then the last bit of the thing, Funko, who's making those Game of Thrones figs, something I always wanted. This is going to be great. They're making this new retro line, and they're going to be packaged in the same, like it's like old little G.I. Joes, the 3 3/4 G.I. Joes. So obviously they're not going to be the most detailed figures because they're the little bitty ones.
Right.
And they're really putting like the same amount too, much like your old G.I. Joes. Like if it was dudes and G.I. Joes, just like a dude, he's got some sort of costume. But they have license for fucking everything. So one of the best is they're doing Back to the Future G.I. Joe size figs. They're doing a Marty, a Doc, a
nice.
George, and a Biff.
Oh, yeah.
They got everything. They're doing the Goonies. They're doing like fucking, I think Rambo. They're doing everything, but then also very exciting. They're doing a fucking Michael Myers. They got Michael, Freddy. I think they got Michael, Freddy. A few horror ones.
Cool.
Gonna be good though. Those will be available in stores, $10 a piece. So the fig guy will be able to get those for us for $5. So
yeah, sweet.
So you could get that whole Back to the Future set for $20. Get all the horror ones for $20.
Bad.
It won't be expensive to keep up with those if you want them.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're not the most detailed. I mean, they look cheap, but they made them. But they said it's on purpose. Like they want, if you collected old G.I. Joes and figures of that size back then, it'd be
awesome to see them just at that scale.
You just can put these up against them, and it's just like they came out back when those figures were like a popular thing. So a lot of exciting action figure stuff, great stuff.
Definitely.
But I guess that's it for the news.
All right.
It's time to go back.
Well, yeah, let's go back. We usually, when I'm here at least, sometimes when I'm not, I like to take a trip back to the old long box to see some comics from years past,
or weeks past.
Yeah, today we're going back to the pull box because I've been kind of off the wagon for a while, so to speak. So I got caught up on a few titles. I had to wait on all new X-Men. That's the only one I didn't read all of them. Got a whole stack of like maybe 10 books I still have to read, but
it's always good.
Yeah, I got caught up on a few things. Batman, which was phenomenal, by the way.
It stays that way. I think even like when I was looking at like people giving out like it fucking matters who gets awards for comics. It's like any other awards where it's like, oh, you gave the best comic of the year to a comic that fucking sells 40,000 copies of Batman. It sells 120. It seems like the people are talking. And I saw a couple of sites that were like, well, we honored Batman last year, so that's why we really didn't give consideration this year. And it's like,
it's stupid.
Well, it's still the best.
It's always like highest quality book.
It's the best. It's easy. Like, it's one of like the top. Like, they didn't even nominate it on a bunch of sites because they just didn't want people to vote it to win. But it's for a superhero book. It's one of the best 2 or 3, like undisputably.
And all the 0-year stuff has been really good. One thing I noticed just reading them back to back, I probably might have skipped over it and not paid it that much attention, but like in almost every issue, there's at least one panel that is almost exactly like a panel from Dark Knight Returns or like an alternate cover or something. Like when he's driving the Batmobile, it has that like angled shot from like down in the floorboard where he's like driving the tank almost.
Yeah,
and then there's that other one where he's on the power line, which looks like the trade paperback cover. It's not like him jumping in front of the lightning bolt, but he's like on that power line, hanging all, like just kind of standing on it, weird, crouched down.
Yeah,
it was almost exactly like the Frank Miller.
Yeah, they've done a phenomenal job of like balancing, like, throwing in like little odes to stuff, but telling a completely fresh story. Like that's
keeping its own style.
Yeah, it's been ridiculous.
I got caught up on that and Kick-Ass 3, which has also been really good. I won't bore you with what's been going on with that because I got the new one today, but the big one is Superior Spider-Man. Glad I kept it in the box. I mean, Dan Slott's writing is always, kind of back and forth. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's kind of goofy.
The only thing holding me back from it is that Silver Surfer.
Yeah, I know, because the artwork's going to be so great. It seems like Allred is born to draw a Silver Surfer book, but Slott kind of makes it a weird deal. You don't know what to expect from it. But last storyline for Superior Spider-Man is the Darkest Hours. Apparently, the new Venom, Flash Thompson, had never really met Peter in his new form, like when he got the Venom symbiote. So now he has to have a confrontation with Octo Spidey. And of course it doesn't go well. Few quick notes on this. He runs into a confrontation with the superior Spider-Man, doesn't recognize him, doesn't know who Flash Thompson is really, and just tries to flame the costume off of him. He knows the Venom is a deadly force in the Marvel Universe, so he wants to just eradicate it. And he devises this plan, once he finds out it's Flash, to repair his legs and get the suit off of him, but at the same time he doesn't realize that they've bonded to each other so that if he's away from the suit for a day or so, it'll kill Flash Thompson. So he has to kind of turn to the Avengers to get it back. And it doesn't really go too well for old Soups. He can't control the Venom symbiote as he thought he would. He thinks he has that superior mind that, he will be able to control it like no one else has before. And he kind of fucks up. And the Avengers come in to confront him. And I don't know how this works out, but there's a scene where he is able to punch Thor in the face and do some serious damage to him, which is I'll kind of give him a little bit of a leeway there, because it's Octo Spidey's never had the symbiote before, but apparently it makes him way super more powerful than anyone else, and he's able to clock Thor. Long story short, when they finally get the symbiote off of him, the Avengers are pretty much there to take him in again, because Iron Man has he finally comes back to Earth, reviews all the stuff that's happened, it's this guy's fucked up, something's going on, and he uses the symbiote attacking him and trying to bond with him as a blanket statement, being oh, that's the whole reason I've been weird this whole time, so yeah, that's it, we're good here, I'm out.
Still, nobody reads his mind and goes, "It's all I got."
Well, yeah, because they don't have the mind readers there. Yeah,
of course they don't.
They need a Professor X or Jean Grey even to come in, but that doesn't happen. Whatever. And after that storyline, finally getting geared up for a pretty kick-ass thing, I'm pretty excited about the Goblin Nation. It's a big confrontation between Roderick Kingsley, the Hobgoblin, and Green Goblin, all of his goblins that he has amassed in his army.
All the gobs.
All the gobs versus the superior Spider-Man. And you find out Ghost Peter is finally back. He's
He finally created that fucking... that vase.
What happened, he had
his Demi Moore moment.
There's a few Peter memories that he hasn't eradicated, so he's able to bring himself back through those. And he's trying to hide around and be sneaky Casper Spidey for a little while he figures out a plan. So there's no telling what's going to happen, but it looks like it's going to be pretty jazzed up. Oh, Carly Cooper, and then her name, she gets captured by Norman Osborn. We finally find out that Norman is the Green Goblin for sure, and captures Carly, turns her into a goblin, and he gets all of her knowledge, finds her journal, and he knows the deal now.
So Carly Cooper's a goblin.
Carly Cooper was the only one that really had it figured out. That
exactly.
Something was wrong with Spider-Man.
So now Norman's got it figured out too. So.
Yeah. Oh shit.
So that'll probably be our last storyline with old Superior Spider-Man. I'll be kind of sad to see him go, because it's been an interesting take on the Spidey mythos without having Peter there necessarily.
We'll see if he's completely gone, because from what I hear is that even though Peter's coming back and he's going to be Amazing Spider-Man, that there's still a chance. I know that they're doing...
Yeah, the status quo won't be...
They're doing a Spider-Man 2099 book that's launching.
Yeah, because he's still kicking around. He's at Alchemax right now in 616, so he's still there.
I've heard there's a rumor that somehow something is going to get involved where somehow in that book, who knows, but they're saying that, nobody thinks that Superior Spider-Man, even though Doc Ock may not be in Peter's body anymore, somehow that moniker is going to go to somebody so that they can sell more books.
Because he's an interesting take on Spidey. He has his own definitely unique look. I mean, it still has the general Spidey motif, but he's got the cool web shooters and the talons coming out of his back, kind of like Ock. So.
I mean, even though I gave up on the series and didn't like it very much, you can't argue the fact that it's sold great. I mean, every month, 2 of the top 10 are Superior Spider-Man books, and sold way better than before by shaking it up. So
yeah, really. I mean, it's been a kind of a risk for Marvel, but it's one that paid off. So
Yeah, and it also paid off for the people like me who dropped it. Are all going to buy Amazing Spider-Man #1 when it
That's
comes out,
right.
just so they can get
See,
their
there
taste
you
of
go.
Peter Parker back. And it's probably going to ramp up the sales of these too, because people who actually
Yeah, they want to know how it ends so they can get
so they can get going.
fresh
So
start
yeah,
jumping on.
I heard just a lot of people like had bought that issue that had dropped the book because they want to know
to see
exactly
what
what's going
things are
on.
like
So
before he comes back.
yeah, I got to go back to the long box.
I've been reading up on these Legends of the Dark Knight, so I'm not going to go
Nice.
into any one particular issue because it's just all of a collection of great writers and artists doing short stories of Batman. And
Yeah.
I picked up a bunch of these on the cheap at the used bookstore on single issues, and it's one of those digital first comics.
Heck
One of the
yeah.
first digital first comics that they've done.
I didn't
And
realize.
they collect those just like they do Smallville and Batman Beyond and
Yeah.
Batman 66. Like several of the popular titles are digital first. This book's been canceled now, but you can still get it in collected editions. Just great, like, non-continuity Batman short stories that pay tribute to all different times and eras of the Dark Knight, and
Cool.
it's a lot of fun. It's been launched several different times under this book, under this title, but
Sure
this
it'll come
is
back
Yeah,
again.
yeah, 'cause I remember
it's
that
the
was one of
most
the big
recent
four.
one of them during the New 52 era.
Yeah, it was especially popular back in the early '90s when it first popped
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
It was a really popular book.
I remember I was checking it
You
out
can
here
tell
and there.
you can tell it told a shit ton because you can't go to a dollar box in a comic store without some of those first few issues
Yeah.
being there. Maybe only like the first 4 or 5, but like issues 5 through 10, like that was one of the very first. I was like, I want to read the Grant Morrison, the Gothic. Like I
Oh,
wonder how
right,
hard that'll
yeah.
be to track down. And the first time I went to a comic store, I was like, oh, I can read all of it for $4.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, not this week, but in 2 weeks, or next week, we'll have Back to Long Box on Lock and Key Alpha and Omega. I've
So,
read it.
Yeah, I've been interested in that.
Read it was
Is this
great.
the final
Are you-
one?
Yeah, are you caught up? Have you read any Lock and
I've
Key?
not read any of it. I've just
Maybe
I've
we'll
heard a
hold-
lot of good stuff.
Maybe we'll
about
hold off a couple weeks. We'll see. If I'd have known, I'd have brought it. It's the last one.
Oh
So
my
it's over.
god.
It's volume
Yeah.
6. I mean, there's not that many, so you could actually probably, within a couple weeks, read the whole thing. But
Yeah,
Well-
I'm not a big spoiler guy, so
yeah, so
it won't bother me.
I mean, it really, I mean, it's really even, like, without spoilers. We can talk about it a lot without spoilers, because, I mean,
It's just a fucking
yeah,
strange book.
it's a great book, and yeah, you can. It won't be like once we talk about if we do talk about how it ends, like it won't really change much of what happens in it. But we'll just leave out. Big thing does happen. There's like a group. There's a family. And there's another group of like side characters. So there's probably like 9 or 10 like good guy characters in the book, and not all of them make it out of this last thing. It's pretty sad, but we won't tell which ones.
Damn.
It's just they don't all, which you could see coming because Lock and Key people have died throughout, so it's
Yeah.
one of those books that like things happen. But we'll yeah,
And death isn't always necessarily the end in that book either. So
no, definitely not. But
So what company are we starting with here on our new and improved format of company by company reviews?
Oh, really?
see what
I
you
didn't
got there.
realize
You got
that.
some. You got some
I
Batman.
got some Marvel and some DC. That's about it.
Yeah, you got a little bit. What do you got the most?
I
of here?
got 3 DC, 2 non-major, and Thor and a Deadpool.
I guess we can start out with Marvel.
All right,
I
that
think
works.
DC we got the most of. Start out with X-Men books, which I guess I'm the one with X-Men books.
Yeah, that's
I
I
don't
only got
But
two.
so a couple of these real fast. Wolverine the X-Men 41, sadly the next to last issue for Jason Aaron. It's been such a great book. If you haven't caught up on it, then good news is a couple months Omnibus comes out, which is $100. If you go on cheap graphic novels, which at some point, if our podcast gets enough listeners, they need to pay me because I give them enough plugs. But if you pre-order it, you get it for $50 the whole run. You can't beat that.
Yeah.
It's 42 issues. I guess there's probably a few issues aren't in there. I think some of the crossover stuff, so like the Battle of the Atom issues aren't in there.
Yeah, because it'll be its own thing.
Yeah, and because it would just if you're not reading the whole thing, doesn't make sense. Like really, the man stories, for Marvel, you got to get them all. It's not like in Justice League. Some of those are tied in, but you could really read like a Justice League book, and it still makes sense within the small picture of what's going on. Some of these Marvel crossovers, like you're probably not. I'm guessing it's not going to include Battle of the Atom or any of the like AV versus X. So you're probably looking at like 32 issues of the book, but all the rest, and which those are the best issues anyways, the ones that aren't crossover. But it's great. This issue is awesome. it's an all Toad issue, which that's really been where Jason Aaron's really excelled in this book, is when he's taken just one or two characters and focus on them for a one shot or a couple of things. I mean, it's weird because it's Wolverine the X-Men, but Wolverine hasn't even been a major part of some of the best stories. But this one was all about Toad, and it was really awesome. So, got that. All New X-Men, Trial of Jean Grey, number 3. I'm basically just getting the next chapter in this. Don't want to spoil it, so, but, yeah, just last issue you found out Jean had been taken prisoner, and she's not really happy about it. So a lot of this book is just her being really fucking mad about being taken prisoner.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the book. And then, let's see what else we got for Marvel. Then, got Marvel, great new book, Charlie Soule.
Yeah.
The man, the myth.
The man of a million comics.
Somehow it's writing like 9 comics, and they're all spectacular.
Yeah.
You dropped Red Lanterns because it sucked.
Yeah.
Charles Soule took over, and everybody's like, it's the best Lantern book now.
Well, it always seems to happen. What the hell?
that's
And Supergirl is a Red Lantern.
Yeah, I
issue.
saw the previews for that. I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
since you went, like, she is the what? Kyle Rayner? Is he the...
No, Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner's the leader,
yeah.
so...
Well, I've decided not to ever go back to any adjacent Lantern book. Like, I kind of want to pick up Sinestro, but I'm not going to go back unless I am fully prepared to get Green Lantern 2. Because I'm always like, I'll collect them or something.
It really is a bit of a
Get the
downfall,
trade
where
paperback.
DC generally, with most of their books, like, when they do crossovers, like, it's not whatever, but with Green Lantern, like,
Yeah.
Dan's had, it does get kind of annoying. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you really need to be reading Green Lantern.
You have to.
There's so many crossovers. If you're not reading it, some of these other books are just not going to get their full effect.
I
But,
think that was my main sticking point on that. The writing wasn't great either, but
yeah. But this She-Hulk was fantastic. I gotta say, I like the style of the art, but, like, looking at it, like, I do get a little bummed out. Like, it's not very detailed. Like,
it's
you get a lot of, like...
it's that kind of retro.
Yeah, it's the
animated
retro,
series
and
look.
yeah, and then you get, like, a lot of the buildings and stuff, and backgrounds are just full color,
Oh,
where
yeah.
they're just not doing anything for it, which seems to be the style of the book, so maybe eventually it'll catch on with me. It's almost
Yeah,
like,
it seems like it could grow on
it's
me.
like if, this seems like this is, I would compare, like, the art style, it's like 60% or 70% of, like, an Allred book.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it looks like. It's like the Allred book without, like, all the details. So, the artist is, Javier Pulido. I mean, I like the way that he draws. It's just not very detailed.
Yeah.
But the writing's so good, which is weird, because I have heard, there's this weird theory I saw some people, like, online talking about, because everybody's going to get mad about something, like, no matter what.
Oh,
Like, I get annoyed
What they
at...
do.
My thing is, I get annoyed about people getting mad, so I guess I'm just as guilty as anybody, because people getting mad at stuff doesn't make me mad. I'm just get annoyed. I'm just like, just fucking pieces of just fucking idiots. But I saw people talk about how they loved the She-Hulk book, but a lot of people shit on the art, which the art is not bad. It's just not as good as the writing in this. I don't think,
Yeah.
my personal opinion. But and then I saw all these people going on there, like, this big argument where people were like, art is the story in comics. Like, how could you like a comic book and not like the art? And it's like, because the writing's awesome. And then people are like,
Yeah.
well, just go read a novel. Go read a novel. And it's like, that's really weird to me that people feel that way, because it seems like way more people buy books based on the writer than the artist these days.
Yeah,
So I don't see how that argument holds up at all. But
it's a strange point.
anyways, the book's awesome. It's definitely just like they go with the day in the life type story where, there's not much actual hulking out going on. It's just all about She-Hulk being a lawyer, and her day-to-day stuff is being a lawyer, and it's great.
Come the Hawkeye formula, it seems.
It is a new thing, which is a really good thing to do with some of these side characters, I think, for something.
Well, how many times can they fucking power up and smash something? You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah, but yeah, it's great. Yeah, it is. It's the Hawkeye. It's Daredevil for part of it. I mean, it's been a lot more action Daredevil, but there for a while it was more of what they did with Daredevil. So yeah, it's really good. It's Charles Soule. If Charles Soule writes a book, then if you have the money, then you should buy it.
It seems to be on fire right now.
Yeah, he's specifically great.
Let's all cover my 2 Marvels really quick.
go ahead, Todd.
I've already given away a couple spoilers from this issue without realizing, but Superior Spider-Man 27, it's featuring the .now, point now number one renumbering kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah, I got a couple of those.
It's the official Goblin Nation number one, and this has probably been one of the better issues they've had of Superior Spider-Man, and it's pretty awesome here. Yeah, we don't have Christos Gage. Christos Gage was kind of helping out during the darkest hour, and I always credited him to having the better issues, but this is all Slott, and it's apparently taken place 31 days later. The Goblins have kind of progressed with their agenda, and Peter Parker decides to just start to try to find a way out. He goes into Doc Ock's memories again, and he kind of gets warped back to story number one, his birth, so he might be trapped kind of reliving all of Doc Ock's memories for a while, so that's kind of weird.
That's tough.
Yeah. And things have been progressing.
Especially that haircut.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yes.
The chili bowl.
Yeah, the Frankenstein chili bowl.
Just cut it a different way this time, please. Not again.
They've advanced things in the relationship between Peter and the little person, Anna Maria, which is kind of funny. She has moved in with him now. They kind of alluded in the darkest hours that they had sex one time as well, which is kind of funny to think about. But it's a Marvel book, so they didn't, they didn't go into much detail.
I guess with the possible outrage of people, and they look like Doc Ock, may pull the evil move and sleep with Mary Jane, and they're like, he's raping her, you can't do it. They're like, well, what if we introduce a different character who's actually attracted to Peter Parker because he's Doc Ock? Is that okay? Now can Doc Ock get some?
And it's a midget. Peter, Spider-Man's fucking a midget now. So I imagine there's somebody out there that's pretty mad about that.
Not getting
that's you just named this episode.
Yes.
Peter Parker fucks midgets. Well,
not getting the superior ass, I see.
Yeah.
Getchyapulls 82. Spider-Man's fucking a midget now.
like I said before, Norman finally reveals that he knows that Otto is in control of Spidey and tries to zap him, but Spidey's on Spider Island using the interface from, I can't remember her name, it's a super-powered lady that used to be involved with Doc Ock. He took her out and took all of her equipment, so he has like a hologram he can use and send out now. But at the end of the book, all the goblins have descended on Spider Island and are blasting the shit out of it, so it's time to go to war.
Dan Slott's like, I'll make you care about Spider Island one way or another.
That's right. So it looks like Spider Island might not be there for much longer. My favorite book of the week was Kick-Ass 3, number 6. And it's a sweet little book. It goes back into some of the backstory of old Mindy McCready to find out why she is who she is. And it sheds some light on her relationship with her father, which is not always a positive light. It details the events of her first kill, and it's kind of weird. It's pretty obvious her dad has kind of warped her to be a psychotic killer, and her the psychiatrist that's working with her brings in her mom to try to help in the rehabilitation. She's always been opposed to talking to her mom again because she thinks she wouldn't understand what all the stuff she's done, but it all backfires on the old psychiatrist, and she's totally like, yeah, I understand what you've done. You did the right thing by killing those men. So it blows up in his face, and still they're trying to, or at least Kick-Ass is trying to devise a plan to bust her out, and it's not going so well. So far, there's only 2 issues more in this whole storyline, which, according to Mark Millar, it's going to give way to his larger expanded universe, which I don't know what that means.
Millar World, he's been talking about forever. World. Yeah, it's self-indulgently called Millar World.
It's like, I'm interested. The other books that are coming out afterwards seem pretty interesting, so I'll at least pick up the MPH.
Yeah, fucking Millar World. What's going to happen if The Walking Dead crosses over with Invincible, and then it's going to be Kirkmanville? I don't think they'll call it Kirkmanville.
That would just be stupid, though.
Kirkmanville meets Millar World.
By the way, I don't even think you were here when it got announced. Like, how pumped are you for John Romita Jr. to drop Superman?
That's right. I am super pumped. I can't wait for it. That is my number 1 most anticipated book. I think that is
biggest comics boner you had in a while.
Yeah, man. That's the character that he should be drawing. Because he's conquered Marvel. He's drawn every Marvel character in their own series at least once. Well, most of them anyway. But
heard they wanted him to take a pay cut. And that's part of the reason that he went over to DC.
Huh.
That's fucked up because with him drawing and Jeff Johns writing, Superman's going to sell 1 billion books a month.
It's going to be a home run.
Yeah.
And there's always the detractors of Romita, which I don't understand. People say they just don't understand his art style, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to be horrible for Superman."
It's like,
they just don't get it.
No, nobody's fully loved, man. I mean, people hate Bendis. There's people that hate Romita.
Yeah.
There's certain people. There's a lot of people that hate Jeff Johns. There's just nobody.
If you like something, just don't read internet comments about it, and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, Marvel really knocked it out of the park for my 2 Marvel selections this week.
Hell yeah.
One was Deadpool number 23. Just several
Awesome
notable things. Look at this awesome cover, first of all. It's an alien parody. It's nothing to fucking do with the issue. Just a great cover, and I do like those.
That's something to do with Deadpool and anything Deadpool's ever in. And sometimes books without Deadpool just has Deadpool doing things on the cover.
Because he's the character that
people
can get
like
away
him
with
kind of
it.
a running gag this last year.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious that the small head coming out of his mouth on the tongue is just sticking his tongue out. And just really funny. But this actually is a badass revenge issue. It's the blow off to this whole deal with this Agent Gorman, the rogue S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who's been working under the table illegally to try to start his own Hydra-like group called Ultimatum.
Nice.
And he swindled a helicarrier away from S.H.I.E.L.D. and all this crazy shit. So they've been trying to figure him out. Coulson's been helping Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
And he's still got the Agent Preston stuck in his head, and they're trying to basically find her body, because they had an LMD made to house her consciousness, but this dude has hijacked it and is using it to commit crimes. And so Deadpool's really coming to fuck this guy up. So he gets on the fucking helicarrier, and it's just great action movie shit with the banter between the thugs and Deadpool sneaking up on guys,
Nice.
and it's just Deadpool being Deadpool. You have a couple of goons arguing here. My favorite scene's he's just slaughtering these guys, as you can see. Just slaughtering, he dumps acid on these guys and burns them alive.
The gore dumping out of the air vent there is pretty cool.
But this Agent Gorman is just trying to fucking get away, and he stumbles upon Deadpool in the room of his carnage, essentially. And he goes, "What the hell is this?" And Deadpool goes, "I call it the Aristocrats." And it's just a bunch of fucking mangled corpses, just strewn across the room. And that fucking killed me. And then they had Coulson have a dog outside of the office there trying to get in.
Say out of the studio.
Good way, Bucky. But he finally gets his revenge, and they fucking take this guy down, and Coulson's happy, and Deadpool's happy. But one of the most hilarious parts of this whole thing, way back early in the arc, they sent all of these various bounty hunters after Deadpool. This Gorman guy did, because he didn't want him exposing his finagling under S.H.I.E.L.D.'s radar, and of course he did. One of them was Crossbones.
Oh, shit.
And in a previous issue, how he disposed of Crossbones was he put him in a hot air balloon and just sent him adrift. So at the end of the issue, they flash back to Crossbones out in the ocean in the hot air balloon eating pigeons and shit. Fucking plotting his revenge. So that's an upcoming arc.
It's a nice touch.
Crossbones is going to come back.
That'll make you pretty mad.
To get revenge for being put in the balloon. I just love that issue so much. I had to go into a little more detail. Another great Marvel issue, another with these number ones, these 19 point nows.
I'm getting used to it now. It's just a little hard to transition.
But Thor going into its second wave, second volume with Jason Aaron, and this is another one with some long-term storytelling. If you remember back in between the God Butcher and the Accursed arcs, there was that one-off issue that was just a day-to-day, what Thor does, just on okay, he goes to he helps some kids and fucking grant some rain in Africa and fucking he's just going and doing good things. He goes and visits Jane Foster. Nice. And they're not together anymore, but she's dying of cancer, and he takes her up to the moon. and it's like, lets her fucking see the fucking Earth and the moon, like,
Oh, yeah.
like just to try to fucking help lift her spirits and shit. He's doing heroic things. One of these things is a nervous young SHIELD recruit named Ross Solomon is going to their military ball, and she doesn't have a fucking date, and nobody likes her, and she prays to Thor that she have a date, and Thor hears her prayer, and he's like, I'll be your date.
That's pretty funny.
And so, like, she's the focus of this next storyline, and of course, like, her connection to Thor from the previous time, like, he really digs her. Like, he's kind of got the hots for her. And so, of course, they exploit that, and Thor comes to help her, and he actually brings her fucking ice from a frost giant.
Oh, dang.
Wow. So, he's got the fucking hots for her.
Sounds like it.
Yes.
And he helps her with a little mission, but, it's more like there's a lot more going on with this, and we even get a glimpse that we're going to see the old future King Thor again creeping back up.
Nice.
A little Galactus action involved there. So,
Nice.
Gee.
just kind of planting the initial seeds of the next big arc, but it's been nothing but fucking home runs for Jason Aaron, and his Todd Rivik is back with this arc. So,
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah, they always have really good feelings on Thor when it is somebody different, but it is always especially good when Todd Rivik is back.
So yeah, that's all I had for Marvel. So what do we got now?
We'll go Indie-tastic.
All right.
It's Fatale number 20, beginning of the final storyline, the final arc of Fatale. And it's pretty badass. You just get to see things finally starting to come to a head. You can see possibly what the finish is going to be off in the distance, since it just has 4 more issues after this one. 24 is going to be the end. Josephine, you get to see more of like when she was like young, some of the things that she went through, and then you get to see like of the people that she's like touched, like basically all the ones that are still alive, or you get updates on them, and they're all kind of coming forward, and it looks like they're all probably going to come together very soon, and we'll get to figure out how it ends. Probably not good, is what I'm going to guess with Fatale, but another great issue, only a couple of those left. And then, what you got? You got?
Oh,
I got nothing.
yeah.
We got. What
Pretty
you got there?
impotent
Another indie book
when it
with
comes to
the
Oh, I
indie
sure
books
do.
right now.
Yeah, I do. If you want to talk about that right quick.
Did you hear they announced this week? Rumor is Sons is going to become an ongoing.
Oh, nice. Well, this was supposed to be the final issue, number 6. It was the end of this first arc, and it's fucking great, man. I actually get this from my stepdad. Like, I read it and then pass it along to him.
That's
but
pretty bro of you.
he loves this book, and he's a huge Suns fan, and didn't disappoint. Like, I've got him into reading some comics. I got him the Walking Dead omnibus for Christmas, and like, he's old, man. He's like fucking in his 60s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's the same. My mom's not that old, but same with her. Like, she never cared. She bought me some comics as a kid, but then one day I was like, "Here, read American Vampire." And she read all of it.
Oh, nice.
You know, so
he's about to get some of my Scott Snyder Batman like collected stuff. So
It's pretty sweet.
So I get him this, but I always take the pass it over before I hand it off. And man, like just
Sharing
a
the love.
bloody violent, like everything you'd want out of Sons, and it's because the show focuses on Jax and Clay and like those bigger characters. Like Tig is mainly the focus of this miniseries, and he really redeems himself in the end, and of course shows that he can be a good guy and does a solid for his bro's kid who's dead, and he like does some gory disposing of these fucking Chinese gangsters, and it actually like the end ties into what was going to be the next season of Sons, which we already saw, but so that continuity wise would have taken place in between the last 2 seasons that aired. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Christopher Golden and Damian Calciero are the creative team on that with Boom Studios.
nice. I got The Walking Dead.
Yes, dude.
It's a big book.
Dude.
We're at All Out War. We're at number 7, so we've passed the halfway point of this big arc. We're in basically the Empire Strikes Back portion of the show where the bad guys are on top by a lot right now. It's a big things happen this issue if you've been keeping up with it. One of the big advantages that Rick and his group had was that they'd found a way to manufacture bullets because everybody was running out of bullets. That was a big advantage he had. Well, They got any more. Now Negan and the bad guys have captured the people that were making the bullets and know they were making bullets, and now they have that access. So you're kind of left with knowing that Rick and his people appear to be fucked, as they do often in the book.
Yeah, in this issue, it looks really bad. Like, you have, what is his name, Dwight, the Two-Face guy that Negan burned his face with an iron. Like, you know, he's still a mole inside
He's
the
the one that
Negan
you're
camp.
hoping is going to turn at some point in hell.
Well, he's been, you know, like, when they attacked the settlement in the last issue, he still helped out Rick's team, you know, just when Negan and them weren't looking. So it looks like he is on the up and up, but it's just, is he going to get an opportunity, I think, to help? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but it's that point where the bad guys have the lead. We're into the deep heat right now. It's still 5 more to go, so a lot still happened. They've done a great job. Like, so when this came out, I think a lot of people were skeptical about a 12-issue event in Walking Dead. Like, how could you keep it exciting the whole time? But it's been good. I guess over to DC.
Yeah, actually, let me start on DC, because my books were okay, but you guys had the Big Daddy. I mean, Green Arrow, Batman. I'm looking over there.
I got 3 Big Daddies.
Like, it should be worth ending the show on that and not what I've got here. Not that what I have was bad, but, like, I know I've heard people just flipping out over that Batman, so definitely got to save that for the main event. So let's start at Forever Evil Rogues Rebellion number 5 of 6. The Rogues continue their battle for survival to try to get to Captain Cold and escape the wrath of the crime syndicate, being that they have decided to say fuck you and be kind of de facto baby faces here. And so in this one, they meet up with a Royal Flush gang, and you get to see a really awesome New 52 take on the Royal Flush gang.
Is that their first appearance in the New 52?
Probably not, but it's definitely the first thing I've seen.
In books we read.
Yeah,
we read like more than half of them, but who knows?
They might have, but like if they haven't before, you know, in the old continuity, they were very strange looking, like painted up, like they looked like people that walked off of Cards.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like they were white faced and like fucking. But if you saw the episode of Arrow last season, they were like a family of bank robbers who wore like hockey masks. With the fucking card logos on the side. It was a very cool interpretation, and that's kind of what they went with here.
Cool.
And I really liked that, and they were more menacing and realistic looking, and you could like believe the Royal Flush Gang more than guys who walked off of a deck of bicycle cards. So, but yeah, cool issue, and you know, the Rogues narrowly escape again with the Weather Wizard almost getting fucking killed as he gets shot in the head, but he used some wind to push it at the last second. It just barely nicked him. So, fucking Johnny Quick did murder the fuck out of one of the Royal Flush Gang in that. So
they murder people. The crime syndicate. They
get murdered as one of them did in that issue of Forever Evil you just handed me back.
Yeah.
That was really sweet.
Which they had a big announcement on that this week, is that there's going to be a new power ring that's going to pop up. And I'm trying to get the details out. I believe the new power ring is going to stay in the New 52 as a new possible Justice League member, and it's going to be a lady. Because if you introduce a new character, it's got to be a girl.
Yeah, that's the new thing to do.
Yeah, which I guess, there's 18 Green Lanterns. It only makes sense the next one's a chick, but as a character that's been introduced at some point in Green Lantern already, that Jeff Johns was like, you know, somebody that you might have forgot about that he introduced in the New 52, so that's what I heard, was that the ring was going to find somebody and stay, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, then moving on to JLA number 12 by Matt Kent and Eddie Barrows. This is the continuing of the Martian Manhunter and Stargirl story. They've really been the focal point of this, trying to stop the firestorm bomb and go save LA, but of course on the way they run into Despero, who fucks them up royally, but they survive. And it's been not looking good for the old Justice League in the Forever Evil, but hopefully that turns around. And then, of course, on to Smallville number 3, Smallville Alien number 3, should I say. They're not numbering the books ongoing anymore. It's just like each arc is its own story. So, but this is the Anti-Monitor has come to Smallville, and it's something they've been building a long time in the comics. and so very cool. And this is a crossover. They've introduced all of the key players from DC in Smallville at this point now in the comics, in the show combined, and you got Batman, Wonder Woman, and others making a big appearance in this huge crossover event to try to stop the Anti-Monitor in Smallville. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I guess my first DC book, which is good, but the lesser of the two, is Nightwing number 28, the next to last Kyle Higgins issue of Nightwing, which I guess after him there's one more without him, which whatever. Well, I don't know why they're doing that, but they are. But it's the next to last one with Kyle Higgins.
Is the James Tynion one is just one issue?
Yeah, I think it's just one issue and then it's over, is what I was led to believe. But, yeah, Nightwing is in a fight. Starts out the issue, looks like he's fighting Batgirl, but then you find out that it is the Spine Bender who has shape-shifting abilities. And I believe he's like made out of like glass or something.
It's like T-1000.
That's kind of his gimmick, yeah. But Kyle Higgins trying to tie up some loose ends from his run, some stories that I think they probably had more long-term plans for, but are in a little early. Nightwing basically in this issue you can kind of see like the ending of like why he's probably going to end up leaving Chicago. You get the end of Tony Zuko's daughter goes talk to him in prison, basically tells him to fuck off. Like, doesn't matter that you seem like you're good now, but you've killed the Graysons, you're still a bad guy. So that's probably going to be the end of their story, at least for now, from what you get. And then some bad stuff happens. You get some characters, some of the supporting characters that had been in the book, bite the dust at the hands of Victor Zsasz.
Oh,
Zsasz.
And that looks like that's going to be the final person Nightwing's going to have to go after in this book, which leads you to believe, I wonder if the way it's going to end is either he's going to have to chase somebody back to Gotham, or I wonder if since it's all pre-Forever Evil, it's a Tynion issue, maybe that's the reason they brought him in, will be, maybe that's how he gets yanked up by the Syndicate, because Forever Evil still has, 3 more issues?
Let's see, what was this last one? Was 5 of 7.
Oh, so it's just 2 more? So, I mean, it would be coming out the same month as the end of Forever Evil, so maybe you get to see, like, how he got, grabbed while that, the same month that story ends. But it was good. Sad that it's going to be the end for Higgins, Nightwing, and we'll see if it relaunches or whatnot, but he still writes Dick Grayson in the Batman Beyond universe book, and he's going to be on Batman Eternal, so...
He'll be around.
You find out in Batman Eternal, like a lot of Batman Eternal now that Scott Snyder's talked about a lot, is basically, it's like every 5 issues or so, there's like a big plot point the writers have to hit. But other than that, they can do whatever. He's like, so you may see somebody write a story that's just about James Gordon or just about Dick Grayson or something in their little arc, so I'm going to bet Kyle Higgins ends up writing some Nightwing and Batman Eternal, so that's cool. Another book that got shorted last week, but got Green Arrow number 28. Final, the end of the Outsider, part 3 of the Outsider War. And it was awesome. I'm not going to spoil it, because I can't talk about it without it being spoilers, but it's pretty crazy what happened to it.
This clan?
Oh, no, it's not even clans. It's just all about... I mean, you saw the last issue ended where Oliver sees his dad and is like, what the fuck? And you get, like, a whole explanation of, like, what that's about and what led to that happening, which really, after this issue, almost completely changes, like, the origin of, like, Oliver as Green Arrow and, like, what his purpose is and all that stuff is completely changed by the issue, so you just gotta read it to see.
Wow, awesome.
It's crazy. Superman, Wonder Woman, Charlie Soule
consistently
again.
best books in comics right
God,
now.
it's so good, man. It's so good. Issue number 5. I can't recommend this book enough. It is so great. Charlie Soule is great, man. Tony Daniel is so great. Just look at that first page, just the old full Wonder Woman shot.
Yeah.
He draws these characters so well. It's a great issue. You get to see Batman out on his own, fighting Zod. Feora has been brought back through the Phantom Zone to join with Zod, and of course, him and Superman are talking about, basically why Zod's there and what's going on and everything, and then it's pretty badass, like, Feora, when she figures out that, she's awesome on Earth, she all of a sudden, like, realizes how strong she is. it's great. And then for most of the issue is just action and some good dialogue. But the big part of the thing is that because it's 2-on-1, they're kind of kicking Superman's ass, and Wonder Woman shows up with a "Don't touch my man" type thing, and then it's pretty awesome. And then she helps Superman even the score, and it's great. And now Zod and Feora are in the New 52 universe doing stuff, so there'll be characters that'll be interesting to see what they do with them going forward. I mean, it's not necessarily the end of them in this book, but we'll have to see the next issue to see what happens with them. But it's pretty cool that they're there, and especially with, like, I think it's also a good move with, like, out of Man of Steel, no matter what people thought of, one of the big things was they thought that the actress, really brought Feora to life, and she was badass in the movie.
Definitely.
So I think a lot of people have been, wanting her to show up in the comics.
She was one of the coolest parts of that movie.
Yeah, people really liked her, so that's really good. I mean, on a small scale, she did it's obviously not the same thing, but how Downey immediately made Iron Man an A-list character. Yeah. The chick that played Feora in this movie made her a character that people generally probably don't care about at all to someone that they wanted to see. So
Put
I think
her on
it's
the radar.
Smart to bring her in. And then Batman 28. The issue that had been previously advertised a few months ago, they'd said they were going to take a month off of 0 year to give you a little spoiler issue, which it's crazy. It is on the front of the cover. It tells you a secret glimpse into Batman Eternal, and Scott Snyder's been saying what happens in this book. It's a real long time from now. He said it would essentially be about halfway through Batman Eternal, maybe even like an issue that's like in the 30s.
Payoff.
So this is something that's going to be 7-8 months down the line into the year before we get to it. Yeah, it's way in the future. So, and then he said Batman Eternal, you're going to get to see starting issue 1 take shape, like what leads to all this happening. Like there'll be signs of it as soon as it starts, and at the end, even at the end of 0 year, he said it's gonna, even though this is in the past, it's gonna tie in a little bit. But it is the spoiler issue for the future, and big spoilers. Big things happen. I think how I can even talk about this. You get to find out things basically. You saw Harper Row dressed in the Nightwing-looking costume.
That I did like.
Yeah, and so you get to find out what her deal is. It's very obvious she's dressed up in this thing. Not a huge spoiler is that she's going to be one of Batman's sidekicks. Right. She's going to be in the crew. What is she? What are they going to call her? We'll let you read the issue.
Yeah, I enjoyed the
but it's
title.
It's actually something, though, that it's not even a spoiler. It's something that people started pointing out. That in last month's 0 year, when they show old Bruce, when he's sitting in the cave, and all the suits are up there, there's a suit that isn't, that Harper Row's suit is in the case, and it actually says what they called her, what her title's going to be. It was in last month's issue, just nobody noticed it, because it's just in a panel.
To go back.
It's just Capullo. Capullo puts so much things in these panels where all the time I hear people talking about, this was foreshadowed in Batman 17. You go back and look back, I'm like, what?
He's got a plan.
He did. Yeah, it's great. So apparently, this has already been, this is even a spoiler. It happened last month, but you get to find out on her. Very interesting. You get to find out who's going to be, I'm not talking spoilers, Dan hasn't read, so we won't tell the names of stuff, but.
Yeah, that's fine.
You get to find out who's going to be running Gotham. So basically, apparently, at some point, even though in 0 year things break down, this is in current continuity, but when something's going to happen in Gotham where a lot of the different crime gangs, get fucked over by something, and then Gotham itself is somehow going to be in some sort of, a place where it's shut down for some reason, because in the book you get to see, there's a curfew. There's all sorts of things.
That have changed. Or
Something's going on in Gotham, which, this is months down the line that's caused this. You get to find out who the new kingpin of crime in Gotham is, which is very interesting, who's running the underworld. That is a great reveal. And also, not really a spoiler because I kept talking about it, you get to see Stephanie Brown is back, and you find out in this issue she's a key to what's going on. You don't know how, but you know she's a key to what's going on. When she read an interview with Snyder, we said if I was going to bring her back, it wasn't just going to be like, hey, be happy she's back. She's a huge key to this story and to whatever it is going on. It's a real mystery as to what's going on in it. Because it's happening so far in the future, but she has something to do with why Gotham is in the shape that it's in. She knows the secrets of it, and the new kingpin of crime has captured her, and you know, you got Batman and Harper Row trying to figure it out. But there's a lot more little stuff in here too that's really awesome. Just another badass issue, man. And then another great bonus to it too is at the end, get a little 6-page preview of Return of American Vampire. So that's badass. A little taste of that. That's coming back in a couple months.
This issue initially kind of rubbed me the wrong way, just because it did. I mean, you know what you're getting into on the cover. It's like clearly not. It does interrupt the storyline. That's kind of what I didn't like going in. It did win me over though, but I don't usually like the kind of a preview for another book within a different book. It was kind of rubbed me the wrong way initially. It was a good issue though, so you know.
Yeah, and I guess like everybody doesn't follow the internet stuff. I mean, I saw some comic sites like, you know, they like that had problems with the book said that too. It's like, if you're just reading the book, whatever. But if you do like social media stuff, like they've been for months telling you that this issue is going to be. That's what it's going to be.
I haven't been following.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you haven't been getting your pulls and stuff like that. But Snyder's been talking about, especially, I thought it was weird on these sites because even on these sites for weeks and weeks and weeks, he's been like, 28. He's like, we're taking a pause in 0 year. We're going to give you this thing, especially too because it answers so many questions. Because people were wondering what Harper Row's going to do. Everybody's had all the theories. People have really been wanting Stephanie Brown to come back. So it's really been like a thing where he's like, you know, we're not going to make you wait another 12 months to find out. We'll go ahead and let you know. And then, but it really is good because when they talk about it too, like when they said the idea, I was a little bit like, man, maybe I wouldn't want to know. But now that you see what's going on, it is very interesting. You're like, how the fuck did they get to this? Like, how, you know, is this going to get to this? How is Stephanie Brown going to, you know, why is she going to be important? Why is Harper Row? How is she going to get to the point to where, you know, she's all of a sudden got this role? And how the fuck is the person who's now the king of crime in Gotham going to be the king of crime in Gotham?
Exactly.
It all makes you really pumped up. So,
it was a book that I would not have even cared about at all. And I mean, it's kind of like that first taste is free. Well, this first taste was $3.99. It was a good taste, and I kind of want to look into Batman Eternal, and I wouldn't normally have. So they were successful in their endeavor to advertise their other comic to me.
Yeah, Batman Eternal is going to be very exciting.
Oh yeah,
very exciting. Yeah, and this was written by, I guess, Tinian also co-wrote this with Snyder because it is part of Batman Eternal, the thing that we're going over. Apparently, Batman Eternal, Snyder's kind of like the group leader, and then Tinian, I guess, would be called like a writer number one, and then, you know, and then everybody else like writes their stories and stuff. But that rules. So it's a great week of pulls. We all had some real good stuff. I think next week I got a little week. I think I only have 3 books.
Yeah, I do too. I also have a small.
I think I have the Justice League, I think, and then a couple Image books. Can't remember which ones, but a couple Image books.
I have like Animal Man, Uncanny X-Men.
The Animal Man, the X-Man.
X-Men.
Maybe Captain America.
I'm going to have the Miracle Man. They got shorted, so I'll finally get number 2, and I'll be able to read that.
Nice.
Nice. It'll be good. But yeah, so a great week. We'll be back in next week with some Lock and Key stuff. And if you want to not have that spoiled, then go out and get mini pulls.
Yes.